Hi, Geometry. This is page 21 of our workbook, and this is the Unit 1, Lesson 4 notes. We're going to do two constructions here. The first one is construction number 2. This is going to be an equilateral triangle inscribed, means inside, a circle. So we're going to begin with a point on our page. Let's call it point A, capital letters for points. And I want to make a circle here. I would set your compass to a smaller radius. Mine's, I don't know, maybe right about an inch. Just something small enough that you can control the compass, but not so small that you have difficulty using it. So the very first step we're going to do is make a circle. We're going to make circle A. So let's draw that circle. Make it dark enough that you can see it. So that was step 1, is we constructed circle A. So I have a circle, and now I'm going to mark a point on the circle. Mark a point on circle. So let's see, I'm just going to mark a point right here on the right side. You don't really need to name it for any reason. I'm going to name it because I'm going to talk about it in 1 second. So I'm going to say mark a point on the circle. In this case, mine was point P. So I would like to set my radius to AP. So I'm going to write that in the next step, but really, if you're using one of these dial compasses, your radius should still be, it's the radius of my circle that I drew. So your compass should be fine. If you have one of the compasses that slide, you are probably going to have to double check that your compass hasn't moved. So I'm going to use the circle's radius. So in parentheses, for me, that's the distance from A to P. That's the distance from A to P. And I'm going to arc around the circle. So what does that mean? Well, I'm going to start at P with this distance from A to P. I'm going to put my pointer on P. And I'm just going to draw an arc that intersects my circle. You could be below P or you could be above P. It doesn't really matter. But that arc just intersected my circle. So when I say arc around the circle, I'm just going to continue this pattern all the way around the circle. So I've drawn my first arc. My arc and my circle intersect right here. I'm going to put my pointer on that intersection point. I'm going to arc again. Now my arc, oops, sorry, my hand covered it up. My arc and the circle has intersected another time. I'm going to move my pointer up to the intersection point very carefully, and I'm going to arc again. This is what I meant by arcing around the circle. This is my next arc. I'm going to move my pointer up to where they intersect, and I'm going to arc again because I am arcing around my circle this distance of the radius, and I'm going to do it again. Now, if I've been careful, this last time I do my arc, I should be arcing through P. You might not be. You might be a little long, you might be a little short. It all depends on, first of all, how thick is this lead? Exactly how close are you putting your pointer to the real intersection point? All of these small details, when you do them multiple times, can create human error. So I wouldn't worry about it as long as you're close to your starting point. What you should have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total arcs. Don't count this again, and there's not 7. You should have 6 total arcs if you've done this correctly. And so my next point is to join every other arc. Well, which ones? It doesn't matter. You have to start with one of them. So I'm going to start with this P that I had already marked. I'm using my straight edge because we're not going to freehand any of this. And I want to join every other arc. That means I'm not going to join P to the next one. I'm going to join it to the one after that. This is my every other. So I'm going to join these 2 arcs. Now I'm going to take this arc and I'm not going to join it to the next one. That's consecutive. So I'm going to join it to the one after it. That would be my every other. And conveniently, this point, not joining it to the next one, but to join it to every other, means I'm going to come back around to P. And when I've done this, this is my equilateral triangle that's been constructed inside my circle. If you've done this correctly, your lines should look congruent. This is a little tick mark. You could do a single, single, single. You could do a double, double, double. But these little tick marks show that my sides are congruent. They are the same length. And I have constructed an equilateral triangle. This is not the only construction of an equilateral triangle. There are others. This is just the one that we're going to do in our notes in our workbook. Okay, flip 2 pages to page 24. So now this page can be hard to do our construction on simply because where the fold is. So as best you can, get this on your paper so we can do a construction in a space down here at the bottom. I'm actually going to rip this out of my book so it sits better on my table. So now we're on page 24 of our workbook, continuing the Unit 1, Lesson 4 notes. And at this time, we're going to do construction number 3. And this is going to be a hexagon inscribed in a circle. Just means inside the circle. All the vertices are on the circle. It's fully inscribed. So this problem actually has the exact same steps as construction number 3, except when we do step 4, we're not going to join every other arc. We're going to join every arc. So let's try to redo our first one. Remember, we had a point on our page called point A. Step 1 was to draw circle A. Any radius is fine, anything that you can easily draw with. So I'm going to just leave my compass the same. Notice it is going over my words. I'm not really bothered by that, but if you are, just make sure that you set your compass small enough that you're not going into the words that you've written. So now this is step 2. This is where we put a point on our circle, and the distance should be the radius. And now I'm going to arc this radius all the way around my circle. So I'm going to put my pointer on this point that I've just marked, and I'm going to arc. I'm going to go in either direction. I'm going to arc my radius. So now I have this intersection point right here. I'm going to jump up to it, and I'm going to arc my, it works a lot better when you have paper underneath what you're doing your construction on. So if you've also torn it out of your workbook, it sometimes on a flat table, it's a little easier to have a few sheets of paper underneath. And we're going to arc again. It gives your compass something to dig into. We're going to arc again, and where they intersect, we're going to arc again. And where they intersect, we're going to arc again. And finally, my last arc should line up, my 6th arc. My last arc here should line up. You'll notice that they don't. It's a little off. I think that's because I had a couple of moments where, because I'm doing this right on my desk, not on a stack of soft paper, where probably my compass didn't hit. Maybe right here is where my error came in. If this was on a quiz or a test, you had to inscribe a hexagon inside of a circle. It's these arcs I'm grading. I'm grading to see that you did the steps. So it would be full credit, even though I'm slightly above where I meant to be. So now I'm going to start connecting every arc. So I'm going to connect first one to my original point, the second one, the third one, and this is giving me my 6-sided hexagon. This is what we call a regular hexagon, meaning all 6 sides are the same length. So this hexagon inscribed inside the circle is my answer, and all 6 sides, let's put congruence marks, all 6 sides are the same length. And this is my hexagon inscribed inside of a circle, and it is my construction number 3. Thank you.